Craig.
I started something and I'm so sorry. Anyways, hi everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Yay, theme music.
That's what you get for sending me South Park anything.
Just South Park jokes for the rest of the night. There's no South Park RPGs. We can't talk about that.
Yeah. Well, that is not true. There are two of them. Fractured Butthole, and I don't remember the name of the other one.
Yeah, I guess those were RPGs, weren't they?
They're absolutely RPGs. They're video games, not tabletops, but they're RPGs.
It was the Stick of Truth, by the way.
That's
and the Fractured Butthole.
Yeah, the fractured butthole.
Right. Actually, I didn't play the second one, but the first one was actually a really good turn-based RPG. The other one was like miniatures almost. Like you had a little grid and you had to move your character around a little grid and attack, and I didn't really seem interested in that.
Yeah, I never played the second one. The first one, it was basically like a JRPG, just very, very old school Final Fantasy. You're on one side, bad guys on the other. Give it the commands.
Well, you can't say it anymore because JRPG is not that. JRPG now is more like how Kingdom Hearts plays.
Yeah, look, if you say the word JRPG to me, I'm thinking Final Fantasy 3.
Right. But 97% of the audience that is out there, JRPGs are Kingdom Hearts style games. Because that's all they make nowadays.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy is the same thing.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts and games that play like that are what's called action adventure. They had those a long time ago on the regular Nintendo.
The terminology's flipped. Like that God of War, okay, is an action adventure game. Okay.
Yeah. That also would fall under that, yes.
But once you add in the role playing, sorry, not even the role playing, but add in like the level up element,
character stats,
it becomes a JRPG now. And I definitely, it's not me. I played through Kingdom Hearts. It was okay. It was a nice reprieve from all the Final Fantasies. But now that it's the standard, I can't stand it.
Yeah,
I'm too old, man. I'm too old. I got old.
Well, fortunately, so are a lot of our listeners. Yeah, I know a number of the people who listen to this thing would think of JRPGs in the exact same way that we do because we're old and most of them are old. So.
Yeah, I guess. Anyways.
Yep. Yeah. So welcome to the JRPG / South Park podcast.
Oh yeah. By the way, I'm Christopher. He's Jay.
Oh yeah, we're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I like to interrupt a lot, by the way. So.
Yeah. There's nothing going on in the official Hasbro WotC news. They delayed the release of Radiant Citadel. It should have been out already. It's not coming out. It's coming out this month now, July, the 19th. So that's kind of the only thing that's going on.
What is that? I don't even remember.
The Radiant Citadel, that was the anthology book that was supposed to come out with all the stories taking place in the Radiant Citadel, the
right.
jewel relic in the middle of the ethereal plane.
Their yearly book of one-shot adventures. That's what it is.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't mind those. I mean, it's a bunch of one-shots. You can run them however you want.
They delayed it for a little while, I think, because of a printing issue. And
really?
Well, I think it's less a printing issue and more of a shipping issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because that's still a big thing.
Yeah, shipping is still an issue. I was going to say if it's for a printing issue, then good on WotC because we know they don't give a damn about printing issues.
I was actually at a local game store, not Xynergy, but a different one, and some guy returned a book. He returned Tomb of Annihilation because it wasn't like a really cool problem, like where the book was like backwards, or like the cover was backwards to the text and reversed.
Yeah, or monsters with two ends.
Yeah, this mistake was the last third of the book was missing. Like you get to page like 180, and then it just stops.
It would have been even better if it was just like blank pages.
You make it up from here. We're done.
Yep. Yeah, hey, I would have been pissed about that. I would have returned that.
He returned it, and like I thought about trying to pick it up, but it just because it's missing pages, it's not that cool.
Yeah, that doesn't
Like,
make it collectible. That just makes it an error.
yeah, if it was backwards and upside down, I would have got it in a heartbeat.
Or if it had the pages, but they were blank, I probably would have considered grabbing that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Make up your own adventure now, the true D&D way, and write it
Yeah,
down.
it's a choose your own last 1/3 of the adventure.
You write Tomb of Annihilation.
You do it your way.
So the Radiant Citadel, they did release a free chapter, okay, of
Okay.
it on D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond now, for those who don't know, is officially owned or run by WotC. The team that set up D&D Beyond is still handling it, even though I haven't seen a dev update in like 3 months now. There, nothing really has changed, and I wouldn't expect to see any major changes for at least another 6 months or so. The free chapter, however, is like not what I thought it would be. Because when I saw a free chapter, I was like, "Oh, cool! This is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be like one of the anthologies, maybe one like the level 3 one or a level 5 one that I can run my players through and get an idea of what is happening at the Radiant Citadel, how these adventures would work."
Yeah.
No, it's the lore page is what they gave away for free.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
on one hand, that's if I was to give away something for free, that would be the thing I'd give away for free is a lore, you know, because it's not that extensive. It's got a nice couple little background pieces in it. There's like what it is, like how life exists there, what the language is that everybody uses there. By the way, it's common, which I have comments on that later. And it kind of just gives you an idea of like how things operate and just who are the key players in this world.
Yeah.
And that's a good piece. Like like half the complaints we've had in the past is that there's no lore being given away.
Yeah.
These books have no lore, and here we have a huge amount of lore that you can use to put it in. There's even a section in there about how to use a citadel you know in your adventures and stuff like that. And it's really cool. So I like it. So like I was disappointed, but then on like a second rethink about it, I was like, okay, this is probably the best thing to give away to draw people into wanting to buy the book.
Yeah.
But all that's left to buy though are the adventures. There's no other changes that happen for this. So on one hand, it's like you kind of gave away the best part, but on the other hand, it's like good on you for giving away the best part. You know,
I mean,
and
let's be real. I don't care about any of the Radiant Citadel stuff just because
yeah,
I don't run the one shots. Not yeah, I run my own homebrew stuff. But if they were giving away any of it, and if there was any of that at all that I'd be interested in, it would be the lore.
yeah,
Because at the very least, lore doesn't matter what the setting. I might read it, and there might be just a little nugget of information in there that I can then utilize in my own campaign.
yeah. And a big thing of what they kind of like added in is that there's because the city's like in the ethereal plane and spirits kind of exist in the ethereal plane, they kind of reimagined how uh, spirits kind of interact and what they are. They have something called the Dawn Incarnates, which are kind of like these like sentient collections of gemstones that reside like in the Radiant Citadel and basically create the wilderness, and they kind of like spirits get drawn to them, kind of thing. Kind of like almost like if you think the Black Panther movies, like how like when they they smoked the flower.
Yeah, yeah,
They went and talked to the Panther goddess. It's kind of like that, and they're really cool. Like just picture like a bunch of gems being hobbled together in like a scorpion or a lion. Really kind of cool aspects. You can kind of use those as almost like an NPC in your journey if you want that kind of like otherworldly spiritual drive to your characters on the material plane. So it was really kind of cool. Like all that stuff, all that information. If you wanted more details about it, is all free in D&D Beyond. You just need an account, which is free, and you click claim and you get it. Same thing with Vecna. You get Vecna's stat block and lore for him for free, and
eh,
the first Monsters Compendium for Spelljammer. So
I mean, the Spelljammer Monsters Compendium would definitely be useful, especially if you're ever running anything in the ethereal realm.
yep.
And like nobody knows anything about the ethereal realm, even though it's been in D&D since first edition. They know that you can travel through it, and that there are lots of spirits and like things can go in and out of it. If I recall right, is it the wraiths that do that? I know,
Yeah.
like I know that the
Ghosts
phase
can.
spiders, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of things can.
but that's most of it. Like people just don't use the ethereal realm much, so it's kind of
No.
cool having a piece of lore, even if it's just small thing where there's a city there, and hey, look, there's stuff you can do here.
Yep. And like I said, the fact that they gave it away for free was just the best. I had initially dismissed it because I was like, I don't care about that, And then I was like, you know what? I think this is the best thing they could have given away, you know. And
Yeah.
like that's the best part of the Waterdeep book, in my opinion, is the chapters upon chapters of stuff in lore and Waterdeep. So it's like this is the stuff that I clamor for, and they're giving it away for free. So I should really tell them when they're doing something right, in my opinion.
Well, I think part of the complaint isn't even about the lore. I know me and Panda specifically, we bitch a lot about the lack of lore, but it's because we came up through earlier editions where they release literal just lore books,
Yeah.
not no modules, no monster stat blocks. There are books that are 200 pages of nothing except lore, and they had a lot of them.
I mean,
And the fact that
that's
we
how
just
fourth edition handled their books too.
Yeah, and the fact that we just do not get those anymore, that's mostly I think what we complain about.
Yeah. I mean, it is very interesting. Like, on one hand, they probably didn't sell well. Is my guess.
I'm positive they sold well. I know for sure they sold well, but this was a long time ago when the internet was still sort of growing,
Yeah,
and
that's. I mean, that's I guess the biggest reason. Like
that's
when I
that's
go
the
to
crux
reference
of it. Yeah,
when I go to reference a book, I don't go to my book collections, even though it's quite extensive now. I just go to the Forgotten Realms wiki because it has everything and it's in order and it's verified and vetted and I can just do whatever I want. It's all there.
yeah.
Like like that at the end of the day, like that's what they should really get. They should honestly have their own internal wiki. They got it for Magic cards. I don't know why they can't just buy that data from fandom
Yeah,
and
I
be
don't
done
know.
with it. No.
Yeah, like I know we've talked about it a couple of times on here, but the internet is sort of the crux of our problem at this point because I am an old man. I'm an outlier. Within the D&D community, there are still a lot of people like me out there, but there are less and less of us. Because the D&D has expanded so much over the last decade, due to
Yeah.
Critical Role and just due to the popularity of fifth edition and all the younger people who have come into it. And young people, I mean, let's be honest, they love the internet. They'd rather just do everything on the internet. So other than the core books, I think they probably just utilize the internet to find all the information. I
Yeah.
had Now that is partly, I think, because they do not have access to the old books. Like if you're running your game completely online, all right, I get it. Pull the information from online. But if you're running a table game where people are actually there, I think like a large portion of people, maybe not majority, but a large portion of them still just have the books there. Yeah, I know there are some DMs who just have their laptop in front of them and pulling from that. Actually, the other DM, Johnny, he does that a lot. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of us out there who just want physical books for everything.
Yeah. It looks so good on your shelf when you get the whole collection.
Yes, it does. My D&D novel collection is growing, man. Every time I go out, I'm finding like more of them and more of them.
I mean, you were when you were down here and you visited me for whatever reason I can't remember what it was, and we went to a couple like just weird thrift stores and like, okay, let's collect all the what was it? Uh, the Left Behind book series.
Oh yeah. No, like you ended up. I think didn't you grab all the Stephen King stuff that was there?
Yeah, I grabbed like Stephen King stuff that was there. And the one lady that had all the Left Behind books, like, oh, I got the whole series. It's like, lady, you could find 3 sets of that in every single store. Look, here's a whole nother set. They're not worth anything.
Yep. Finding D&D novels when out thrifting though is kind of fun. It's adventure time.
Yeah.
At this point, I've managed to get. I don't know exactly how many, but I've probably got about 50 of them, maybe more.
You can
And
find a lot of Salvatore novels and a bunch of Dragonlance novels here and there, especially at the better like
yeah,
Goodwill stores. I've only ever found D&D books once at a
now
thrift store.
yes, D&D books, not novels, but books. That's way harder. Like I never see those out and about.
Yeah.
Um,
I've gone to many a thrift store for
yeah,
decades, and I have yet to find miniatures of any quality. I mean, I could find like like dollar store miniatures. But I'm actually talking like
yeah,
WizKid style miniatures, or finding D&D books. Like I said, I've only ever found one, and that was a bunch of second edition modules that were there. Like I think I've seen a D&D like player's handbook for 3.5 like once or twice,
yeah. Mhm.
but like it's always locked behind a cabinet, like it's like some relic that they sell. They usually sell them for like $80 to $100 for some reason too. So it's not even like worth buying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
eh, you can buy it a lot cheaper on Amazon there, pal.
Yeah, I can order the player's handbook for 3.5 for probably 30 or $40 on eBay.
And like even like fourth edition books, like I've never found any of those. For as hated as that system was, I haven't seen those just thrown away either.
Well,
People keep these things and just hold on to them.
they do, yeah. People do tend to hold on to their books. In all of the thrifting that I've done, I've seen one D&D book out there, and it was a guy in line in front of me who had grabbed it, and it was fifth edition player's handbook. So it wasn't even anything interesting, but he probably got it for $5 or $10. So
Yeah, I mean, like you can buy it off of Amazon during like a sale weekend or something like that, and get all the D&D stuff for like $20 a book, the core books at least.
yeah. Now
Uh,
I did have that one really good find. Well, it was two really good finds. One of them was the large collection of first edition and second edition stuff that I got, but that was from a gaming store. They had paid a fairly low amount for it, so I basically paid them a low amount for it, and it was still not it wasn't cheap. And then there was an estate sale I went to like 2 days after that where I got a bunch more first edition stuff, and that was also not particularly cheap, but it was still a lot cheaper than the actual value of the stuff.
yeah, I mean that's good. I mean, like you do it now as almost like
I mean,
a
this yeah,
livelihood. So
it is what I do. Like I buy and sell things, and I'm always looking for D&D stuff. It's hard to find out there.
yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of weird that it is so hard. But like I said, I guess it's mostly because people just don't get rid of the stuff. They want to keep it forever.
yeah, it could be a location thing too. I do not live in the most Dungeons and Dragons centric areas by any means. I'm out here in the rural state of Alabama. If I was in maybe, I don't know, Colorado or New York or California or something, I might come across more of it.
Probably not.
But I still don't think it would be a commonplace thing by any means.
Yeah, I
Uh,
need to find more D&D books myself.
yeah, my goal, and it's a long term goal, is to have every one of the second edition books. I don't, I'd like to have the third and fourth and so on, but I'm only ever really trying to collect all of the second edition ones, and I want every one of the novels, just paperback. And hardback's kind of a nuisance to deal with, but
Man, that's a lot. Listen, R.A. Salvatore writes a new book every 2 months.
oddly enough, when I'm out thrifting, his are the ones I don't pick up because they are the ones that I already own most of his stuff. Like any of the newer ones, if I don't have them, I would pick them up. But otherwise, But as far as reselling, I don't pick them up because they're just not worth anything. Because there were so many of them printed that are still out there. It's
You're
true.
not worth anything.
There's no monetary value to them.
I think at this point in time too is my wife is a huge R.A. Salvatore fan. She's a huge Dritz fan. She loves the story. She's read a majority of the books,
Mhm.
but she stopped reading the books for a couple of years. And then she ran into this problem that she doesn't want to start reading the new series, the new set of books, because she's missed everything that's happened up until that point in
Yeah,
time.
you have to get all of them in order. That's required.
Yeah. And that's the biggest problem he runs into is like anyone's going to start reading R.A. Salvatore's The Way of the Drow books right now. Like, how can you do that? Because, those books are,
It's like it's like 40 books or something.
yeah.
It's a lot of books.
I mean, The Way of the Drow is a new story, but it's with Dritz, but like you still don't know why he's in the state that he's in and doing the things that he's doing because that was all explained in the previous book.
Yeah.
I will
Uh,
never read any of his books, not because I don't, not because I have a negative opinion of R.A. Salvatore or anything that he's done. It's just I don't have time to sit there and read any of his books, let alone all of his books to understand what the hell Dritz is doing today.
yeah. No, I follow you on that. I've read maybe the first half of all of the Driss storyline stuff. The last books I was reading, all of his companions, his original companions, were still alive. And
Yeah.
I know they killed them off. I think third edition was still around, or maybe fourth was just out. Like it's been a while, so I'm 15, 20 years behind on those novels.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean the problem is like what you're talking about is like Wolfgar got killed and the dwarf
I remember that.
yeah,
I read through
guy
all
got killed.
that, but they
And then
killed
and
off
then they get
all of them after that at some point.
and then they get resurrected and they all get killed off again. And then Dritz and Catti have a baby and they call him like Swiss cheese or something. I don't know. And I don't know, it's just because all of that matters, you got to read all the books.
Yep. Yeah, I
And
really,
then and then for some reason somehow Jiraxel shows up and now he's the main character in most of the books.
yeah. Well, those okay. So at some point, reasonably early, book book 12, somewhere around there, he basically started writing two separate series, and you don't have to read the other series to follow Driss because one series ended up following sort of Wolfgar going off on his own, and then there was another one where it was Artemis and Jarlaxle going off doing their thing, and it's all sort of tied together because all those characters came from the early Driss stories, but you could still just not read those and still follow what Drist is doing just fine. So, truthfully, you could probably cut out about 10 books or so.
What is Dritz doing today?
Yeah. I think like because I'm a big fan of the Dresden Files. I think Jim Butcher kind of has the right idea. He's written a good number of those books, maybe 15 of them or so, but he actually has plans to end the series finally. I don't know. I think there's maybe two or three more books to go, but he has an ending. At some point, this is over. We don't need to go back, and you're never going to have to read 40 books to be
Yeah.
able to read the new shit. Yeah, the number he's written is a lot, but it's not in comparison to Salvatore. Kill Drist, get it over with. Either that or have him retire. Just stop writing Drist novels. Come up with some new characters or write novels about other characters that showed up in a Drist book that are never tied to him again.
I do think D&D's kind of reached that point where they do kind of need to have a new established like NPC base and un- unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, the Penny Arcade guys had the right idea, with Omen Drawn and Jim Dark Magic. But they were joke characters ultimately, and that's really hard to sell as being serious and part of the plot.
It'd be hard to write novels about that.
Not really. I mean, because they kind of
Okay,
did.
you can write novels about it, but let's be honest about it. At least it's going to be more Terry Pratchett than it is R.A. Salvatore. It's going to be
Yeah,
comic. It's going to be comedy.
yeah. So I mean, ultimately, I guess that's the biggest issue, with that. But like, so there's potential there at least,
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
like I haven't. I'm not super familiar with their work, as you know, but I've watched them play a few of their games and stuff, and it's entertaining. Yeah, I could absolutely see if they released novels of that. I would probably read them because it's a Dungeons and Dragons setting. So
yeah,
I'll at least have an understanding of how things kind of work. And
you could
yeah,
do a very serious Lords of Waterdeep style book and bring those characters in and not even touch the comedy at all. It'd be
y-
mostly Omen drawn, trying to run his business,
yeah,
and then all the side stories could be where all the comic relief is because that's the B team specifically.
mhm.
Who wouldn't? Crap, what's that wrestler's name?
I don't know.
Part of the New Day, the guy that started the New Day,
Oh, Biggie, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, one of
Xavier
those.
Woods. He plays one of the characters on the B team.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of creativity behind that group. You can kind of just tap them for hey, we're gonna do a story. What would you guys do? And then have a ghostwriter write all that. And then that's the B story to a very serious Game of Thrones style A story with home and drawn. Like it kind of works,
I, you
oddly
know,
enough.
I kind of am digging this idea. What I would like to see is two novels released. The first one is about Omen Dran. It's very serious. It's about a problem that he has running his business. And you just sort of get the outline of how things end up after it's over. And the second book is the B team that was hired to go and deal with the problem. And it's nothing but just a comical, take on how things actually happen. But when you read the first book, you just get the very serious side of how things went down.
Yeah. So I mean, like it is there. The potential is there. Like Jar Axel has been more popular now, even though I know he's a Ari Salvatore character. More people are
He's
kind
a
of like,
Yeah, he's a popular character. Him
yeah,
and Artemis and Truri both, they always were.
yeah. So I
Yep.
mean, there is potential there for other books. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Other
Well,
books.
at any point, in all of the novels that Salvatore's written about Driss, he can introduce new characters. It could be as simple as a barmaid. It could be just a old surly dwarf sitting at a bar, so at a tavern somewhere. It could literally be a kid on the street. And if he spends enough time in that novel making that character into something, at that point you have an established character that you can then just go on to write another novel about. And you
Yeah,
don't ever have to look back at Drist. You don't ever have to really touch on that going forward. Just write about different characters. And that I understand people never want to give up the characters that they love. I mean, just look at me with the LARPing. I've literally been playing the same character more or less for 20 something years at this point, and
yeah,
it's because I enjoy that character. But after a while, sooner or later, it's time to move on.
yeah.
And I am of the notion that it's time to move on from Driss. Put him to bed. He could still show up occasionally here and there and other things. Make him kind of like Elminster. Like Elminster has a few novels about him, and he was a great big character in the early days of Forgotten Realms. But now he just kind of occasionally shows up in stuff. I mean, in fifth edition, I know they don't ever really use him in anything,
Yeah.
but he's always around. You could still just bring him in for a one-off.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard too, just because you have so much established stuff in the history of D&D that, like, even if you were to do a great reset and like try to get new characters in and stuff like that, they've done it 1,000 times and no characters have really stuck.
Yeah,
Like Volo's a good character. I don't know
yeah.
how long he's been around. I didn't know
He's
about him
he's
until,
Volo's been around a long time. He's at
yeah.
least since second edition.
But like I said, I'm relatively new to all the older NPCs. None of these guys were in fourth. just FYI,
Well,
because it was a
fourth.
whole different. The interior veil was a whole different world, so it
Yeah,
had a
so
whole
they
different.
didn't do Forgotten Realms according to
Yeah.
you. So
Um. So they're very very new to me in a way, but then like I kind of get the idea too that the people don't know what to do with them because like a lot has already been done with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But now pulling up new settings like they tried to do with fourth edition, man, that's tough. They kind of messed up there with fourth edition. Like you might have even been able to get that edition over. I'm using wrestling terminology now. Get it over with the fans if you
Mhm.
had set it in Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance or a setting that everybody already knew. But yeah, they tried to do this other one, Ninter Vale was what it was called.
Yeah, the interval. Yeah, an interval.
Yeah, which nobody's ever heard of, so you don't have any NPCs anyone cares about. You have no storylines anyone cares about.
I mean, it was fairly popular with a couple of the designers on the development team for
Well, that's not who you're writing it
Watching.
for, though.
Right, but they were still running like online games with it. I think Jerry Crawford had a weekly D&D series he was running, and it was all in the Intervale
Sure.
because it's Forgotten Realms just 10% different, kind of. Orcus is still a bad guy there.
Yeah, but
Things are a
Orcus
little
has
bit
been
different.
around. Orcus has
Yeah,
been a villain since first edition. He's been in every edition. Doesn't matter what setting. you
he's
know, I,
everywhere.
yeah, like he was in Forgotten Realms. He was in uh, Greyhawk. He was in Mystara, probably. Like all of the settings, he's just been a thing, except for probably not Dragonlance. But
Speaking of which, I bought the fourth edition Orcus miniature.
mhm.
Badass miniature. He looks like a big, huge, freaking bull demon. With his giant mace.
Looks like Roadhog.
But
For people who don't get the reference, it's an Overwatch reference video game.
there's a mini for him for fifth edition,
Yeah,
and the mini for fifth edition looks more detailed and more like demonic-y because like half his flesh is missing and stuff like that, but like a more demonic way. It just doesn't look as good to me. No, not because it's not like purchase bias. It was just like the other one looks like an end boss you would fight in a video game. The other one looks like something you scrawl onto the walls of your insane asylum room
yeah.
and say that he's coming.
I'm looking at the 5e miniature of him. He honestly, it looks like a greater demon of corn from
Yeah,
uh from Warhammer 40k. He's just all blood red. He has big horns, but it's the bone that goes through the back of his head, and it just run like a bone plate that runs along the top of his head all the way to his snout and covers his whole snout. And that's just kind of
yeah,
yeah, that's not how I imagine Orcus.
yeah. And then you look at the fourth edition miniature, and I don't know, like that looks like a demon lord to me. Like
Yeah,
even if you look at the pictures of 4E Orcus versus 5E Orcus, like you could have told me that the 5E Orcus was the undead version of him, and I would have believed you.
yeah. I'm not sure which edition is the fourth edition when looking for it, but there's plenty of artwork of Orcus out there, and yeah, like he doesn't have that bone plating anywhere up top. So I think it's mostly the bone plating that's just sort of throwing the whole thing off.
Yeah, I got it in our Discord. You can take a look at the image.
I'll look at it later. I don't know where it's at.
I don't know how Discord works.
Oh, have we not just discussed how I don't get the internet? I'm old. A friend of mine sent me or he posted a picture in a group chat of a Dungeons and Dragons pinball game that came out in 1987. Like
Yeah.
full sized pinball game with Larry Elmore art. I really kind of want one. If I ever get a lot of money, I'm gonna have to find me one of these.
You mean when we open the Grumpy Dungeon Master Studios?
Yeah, yeah, that would be amazing. I like this plan. Grumpy Dungeon Master Studios. We'll set it up. We'll have a Dungeons and Dragons pinball game in there. We can even set up a MAME cabinet where you can just play every Dungeons and Dragons game ever.
I keep pitching that for our stream, and you guys are like, "No, we don't want to do it." Like it's $2.
Okay. No,
We play Golden Axe.
I will play those games if you hand me a controller or put a cabinet in front of me. I'm not going to sit here for 3 hours and play it on stream.
Ah, coward.
I need to be more like those are video games you play for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you walk away. The
I
kind of the
gave up
beauty
my
of it.
quarters.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money in arcades back in the day when those were a thing. You remember those days?
Ah, yeah, I do. They don't exist anymore, man. Make me feel old now.
I know it. So I got to thinking about yeah. Have you ever had players? I know you've had players who do this. You'll say that they walk into a library or they're searching over this room. There's a desk there, it's a bunch of drawers. There's a bookshelf in the back, and immediately, if you bring up a bookshelf, there's always going to be one or more of those people who are like, "What books are there?" And then you have to come up with like what books are on this damn bookshelf. You ever have that issue?
Yep.
Yeah. So I found a website that has 100 books for D&D, and some of them are amazing. So I have to read off some of these titles that I will almost certainly use in my campaign at some point. Let's see. One of them is Raising Weasels with Confidence.
Are the all joke ones?
No, no, most of them are not. There's the Book of Common Law, Carnivorous Gardening, the Book of 12 Seasons, A Journey Beyond the Veil. Like the majority of them are actually serious, but there's enough comical ones in there for my taste.
Okay.
So, A Short History of Dwarves. Let's see. What other ones they have in here? Secret Doors and Passages. In parentheses, it says Bad Poetry Collection. Basic Carpentry for Complex Dungeons. Oh, here, this was one of my favorites. How to use a sundial in the rain. I hope that the how to use a sundial in the rain is actually a joke book where it's just drawings of what you do with a sundial in the rain, and one of them is somebody picking up a sundial and chucking it at a dragon. Somebody maybe a giant picks one up, uses it as a paperweight. Just different stupid things to do with a sundial in the rain.
Of course, the ranger with the fucking 36 on his survival check gets it to work.
Oh yeah, of course.
I
That would happen.
fire an arrow into the rain cloud, causing just a beam of sunlight to spark down on my sundial watch, and I can tell what time it is.
Yep. I wonder if that's a thing. I wonder if you can do that in D&D. Just have a sundial watch, just a
I mean,
sundial
I
that
assume.
you strap it to your wrist, and you just have to know which way is north, and I guess you just set it down on the ground, and oh, it's 2:30.
It's time for a short rest. Warlock, shut up.
Yeah, it's short.
Okay.
Yeah, short rest o'clock. Let's see, 50 things to do with a dead lich. That would have to be another joke book, I think.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, just nothing except for drawings. One of them uses a lich's skull as like a I don't know, as a ashtray or something like that.
Yeah. And that's how you get demi-liches.
Yeah, that's how you get demi liches. Let's see, the Assassin's Inspiration. It's just a hollowed out book with a dagger hidden inside of it.
I do
Uh,
like that one.
yeah, that one's good. This one is a perfect one for halflings or Kinder, specifically Kinder from Dragonlance. Accidental pickpocketing and other excuses. Spells we are still trying to make work. See, there's
What,
what?
what's the spell? What spell
I
are you
don't
trying
know.
to get work?
Yeah, well, it's spells with a S, so multiple. We're still trying to make work. I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Summon Tarask.
Yeah. The Legend of Tucker's Kobolds. I feel like they could make that into a movie.
It sounds like something Chris Perkins already wrote.
Yeah, probably. It just sounds like maybe a John Wayne film or something like a war movie. The Legend of Tucker's Kobolds. Got to send them behind enemy lines.
The bridge through Waterdeep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have to go and blow up the bridge through Waterdeep. Uh, counting
Are
to
there any
two,
famous bridges on the Sword Coast? Now that I think about it,
I'm sure there have to be.
there's bridges, but there's no famous bridges.
Okay, well, let's be honest. Any bridge in D&D that has a name at all is going to be a famous bridge.
I mean,
Uh,
I guess so, but like, I don't know of any story. I don't know of any. I mean, there are bridges. Like I know
okay,
there's.
no, yeah, dude. Okay. So there's a wiki. The Forgotten Realms fandom wiki has a category for bridges. There's,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically where they're at. I'd have to look at each one, but there's the Black Feather Bridge, Little Stone Bridge, the Moon Bridge, Nigel's Ford, Clear Flow Bridge. Like there's a few dozens. So there's your question or your answer.
Well, like I
Or
mean, one that would have been contested, like that would stop like a war.
probably so. Yes.
Bridge of
Uh,
the Fallen Man. That's on the high road. So that one may be there because I know the high road is pretty much the only way to get from the East Coast to the West Coast. But there's no lore on it.
yeah, not on the bridge specifically. Where was it? Where did they pull that from? Trying to see. Huh. Yeah, I don't know where they even got that. Oh, okay, it's just from a map. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, there's probably not any lore actually written on that one.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think they have any famous bridges. What I would consider famous. There's name bridges, but that's not like famous bridges
Well,
to
the
me.
Moon Bridge. Moon Bridge is definitely famous.
The Moon Bridge,
Yep, that's almost certainly been in novels.
but it's in a city, or it's part
Uh,
of a city.
yeah, it's in Silvery Moon. That is a city.
Yeah. I get.
It's a magical invisible bridge. So I don't know the kobolds are going to be able to go blow that up very easily.
But yeah, I don't think there's any like major bridges that would stop like an army from moving from one location to another location like up or down the Sword Coast.
Ah, I mean, you could always write something for it if if
Yeah.
somebody's running that, you can make it happen. Not
There's
everything is detailed out. So
the Boris Sky Bridge, I guess, because
what is
that
the
kind of connects to Baldur's Gate. Or you take the main road down south from like Waterdeep and whatnot, and it goes over the Winding River and it goes to Eltriel and Tyrael and Baldur's Gate. It kind of connects to it in a little way. So
Oh,
that
look up the Worms Crossing.
the Worms Crossing.
Yep. Yeah, that's in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, but that's an internal bridge to a city.
Well, yeah, but if you blow that up, then armies can't get in or out. No, maybe not easily. They might have to
Yeah.
go many miles to be able to get to the other side of the
Well,
river.
yeah. If they don't march through Baldur's Gate and crossing this bridge, then it'd go around to the other bridge I just mentioned, the Boris Sky Bridge,
Oh, okay. I don't have
because
the map of it pulled up in front of me.
they would just skirt around Baldur's Gate completely. And like it's Baldur's Gate. Who really wants to go to Baldur's Gate?
Eh,
Like you're
Nobody.
not
I mean,
taking over any resources there, pal. You're only taking over corruption.
yeah,
You just let them just burn themselves out and just keep going.
yeah. I'm pretty like, isn't Baldur's Gate on another plane at this point anyway? Pretty sure it
No,
got sucked into hell or something.
that's Eltriel.
I don't know. I don't do Forgotten Realms anymore.
Baldur's Gate is still just fine. It's just sitting there. No one wants to take it to hell because it's already hell. In fact, there's now a 10th level of hell, and it starts in the material plane. It's called Baldur's Gate.
It's called Baldur's Gate. Nobody wants to go there.
You go to Baldur's Gate when you die, and then you get killed, and then you just start going down the levels of hell.
Yep. Yeah, it's like Alabama.
When
Just
you actually when you actually go to Baldur's Gate, and then you die and get shanked, and you actually show up in a furnace, it's actually a nice place compared to Baldur's Gate.
yeah, I mean it's an upgrade.
There's infrastructure, giant war machines roaming the hellscape, blowing up people. Everybody wants gas for some reason. No one knows what gas is.
Goddamn Mad Max.
Yeah, I'm the good old days when that was still fiction.
Yeah, tell me about it. Uh, so anyway, I'm gonna read a few more of these books. Let's see. I think I don't know if I read that one or not. Counting to 10 for orcs. It's
One,
only
two, 10.
yeah.
Easy.
It's probably just 4 pages. Uh, Power defenses. What works and what does not.
The
Or not.
10 best power words for
Yeah.
healing.
Let's see. Weather manipulation and farm management.
Yep.
Oh, here's a useful one. This is actually I want to see this book for real. The physics behind interdimensional portals, bags, and holes.
Hmm.
So this would explain why when you take a Heward Sandy haversack and stuff a bag of holding in there, they blow up. Because no one's ever explained how it actually works.
It just does.
It just does. Oh, one thing they did in this list I thought was kind of funny. There's a lot of the books, a handful of them that start off with the name Samwell. So it's like Samwell's Guide to Useless Glyphs,
Mhm.
Samwell's Guides to Arms and Armor. So this is something anybody who's needing books could just do in their own D&D setting. You could
Yeah.
easily, in Forgotten Realms, you could easily just have them, Volo's Guide to Monsters, Volo's Guide to this, Volo's Guide to that. And this
Yeah.
thing, it was Sam Wells in your own homebrew, just make up an NPC, and they just wrote a whole bunch of useful books.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping they were gonna, and they kind of stuck with that throughout the 5e book naming, where the of everything books are like the
Yeah,
huge
Yeah,
amalgamations of
yeah.
books.
It's
Yeah,
it's all Morden Canaans or Volos.
and those I thought they were gonna stay with those, like because they had like the tomes and foes, and they had the other one, but they kind of skirted away from that with not. If they want to have Morden Canaan be all the monster manuals from here on out, that's fine.
Yeah,
Don't like
makes sense.
Volo anymore, I guess.
Well, maybe Volo got into trouble or something, and people stopped buying his books.
Well, there was a
Mordecai
joke.
became the big one.
There was a joke in Waterdeep where it was like Volo's Guide to Spirits and Sprites or something like that,
Okay.
and it was his next big book, um, and it was basically going to be like an undead book where he talks about all the undead monsters and undead monster variants,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
also all the bars in Waterdeep.
Yeah, because
Those
those two things go great together.
That's the spirits. That's the spirits part of the book title.
Oh, that's kind of genius, actually.
Right? Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I funded that book immediately. I'm like, I'll buy it.
yeah.
Speaking
No,
of, we're
that's
probably running Waterdeep next, and still have no idea what I'm gonna do with the like it starts off that you go rescue somebody for Volo, and then he
uh-huh.
gives you access to the Troll Skull Tavern. And we're still keeping the previous story as canon. So the Troll Skull Tavern's gone. So Volo, like, does he have another building he can just give away to the players for helping him out? Or
I
is it
don't
like,
know. Yeah,
or is it like, sorry, I ain't got no buildings. Good luck, guys.
yeah. You get to
Here's a
do it from
cardboard box,
yeah. You get to do this from the street.
the real way.
Yep. So I got one more name I'm going to read off, then we'll move on. The last one they had in this list is puppetry for evil and parties.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, what else are you going to use puppetry for? Well, I say we all. I've seen all the Puppet Master movies. I get it.
Have you seen Jim Henson's Muppet Coffee commercials?
I don't think so, but I'm going to.
All right, everybody out there, you can just Google. I think it's just Jim Henson coffee commercials.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just typed in Jim Henson and the letter C, and immediately coffee commercial is the top.
Or if you need to, just look at Wilkins coffee commercials.
Oh my God, those are I like just the picture is terrifying. I'd be scared of that.
It's one of the. I think it is the first time he did puppeteering for like money, like
Yeah,
externally
this
or for
this looks like
television.
it's from the '60s, probably.
It is horrifying because you got to remember the time period that it came out in. Okay, and then compare it to the fact that the Muppets exist and are very loved.
Yep.
So watch a couple of those. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, apparently these are from 1957 to 1961. And like that's got to be Kermit the Frog I'm staring at before he was Kermit, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, give you damn nightmares.
Yeah. You thought Mickey Mouse and that one comic was weird. So 1 week till by the time this airs, it'll be our anniversary, which is July 4th. So
Oh,
we've
that
done
okay, yeah.
Grumpy Dungeon Master for 2 years, and you still need to book a guest. Work
That's
on
fair.
it.
I'll get right on that.
Um, but yeah, it's been 2 years. If there'll be a post on the anniversary date, and when you listen to this, it should still be up there. Let us know what your favorite podcast we have, or the famous topic we talked about was and is, and where you would like us to focus more things on. I'd like to focus more on like how I use different monsters for play. I know we kind of talked about like Durgar and goblins and kobolds, but like if there's a couple of monsters you guys would like us to talk about and how we would use them,
Yeah, give us things to talk about because like we're
give us
constantly
ideas. Are you going to
we,
get more of these where we just ramble for an hour and
well
don't
we,
know
we
anything? Because there's no D&D news.
yeah, there's no D&D news. We're constantly searching for for interesting things to talk about. And hey, if people have ideas, we'll put our 2 cents in, right or
Yeah.
wrong.
I
Probably
did
wrong.
have a topic for today, which is basically someone complaining that a mind flayer killed him and he hates the DM because of it. And I was like, you know what? No, the player's just a jerk. I ain't not going to talk about this at all.
Yeah, that's not even worth talking about, really.
Yeah.
It's a player who just needs to get over themselves. Oh no, you died in a game where you can die. It happens.
It was worse than that because they said that they blamed the DM for creating an unbeatable encounter and using a monster well outside their level range because they were level 5. They're fighting 2 intellect devourers and a mind flayer.
That's a
You want to
rough
know something?
encounter, but it's
You want to
doable.
know No, you want to know something? It's not made up by the DM. That's how it's written in Waterdeep, and it's for level 3 players.
So consider yourselves lucky. Yes, there are absolutely some encounters that they're not necessarily unwinnable. You just might not want to fight.
Yeah, because blaming the DM and stuff like how to handle it. Like, you know what? Just kick the player out.
Yeah,
We're I'm
players
done.
need to
I'm
learn.
done handling bad people.
Players need to learn to run away. Sometimes
Now,
you just
there's very little chance of running away in that scenario.
I
You're just
don't know
supposed
the
to talk to
scenario.
them.
Okay, yeah, but
Yeah,
there's almost always another option.
yeah.
Uh, when my players died in Icewind Dale, they went the wrong option. If they had
Yeah.
picked the other option, they would have walked out of there just fine.
All right, guys. You want to fight the A, which is certain death, or go to B, which is certain death? I don't know, but you have a chance to live. No, you don't. You're dead. Welcome to Icewind Dale. Welcome
Yep.
to the Rock.
Oh, so the other dungeon master from our group, Johnny, apparently he's going back to school here in the fall. So
Oh,
at that point he's going to have less dungeon mastering time. Yeah, kind of like when I was in school, I'd DM, but it was just sort of haphazard and stuff. So it might get interesting. We are very fortunate in our play group. We actually have 4 people who are capable dungeon masters. I think the only one from our play group who does not DM at all is our buddy Jacob. Everybody else has and occasionally does, but it's mostly me and Johnny just because you've got a limited amount of time. We play once a week if we're lucky. So it's just he'll run, then I'll run. We just sort of swap back and forth. So it might be I might actually get to play in another style of campaign. Um, I don't know who's going to end up picking up the slack, but if it's my player Mike, he actually will most likely run some of the actual written campaign modules. So I might get to play in Avernus or Ravenloft or one of these that I've never gotten to run through.
oh yeah. It reminds me. So I hate to dial this back, but I had to get it in my brain.
You do it.
When you go
Bring it.
through Strahd's castle in Ravenloft,
Uh
You actually wind up in his library, and they have a
huh.
table of books.
Oh, perfect.
Like when you search like for the bookshelf, it tells you what the book is. And like some of them, if I remember correctly, are like, ancient medicine practices and modern applications of uh, military war tactics from a 10,000-year-old elven general.
Yeah.
And like these are books like worth like hundreds of gold apiece. And they put a lot of effort in this little table. So if you ever need to reference a table quick and you got Strahd lying around, there's go to Strahd's castle and check up his library. So there's some really good ones in there.
I know how to make some money next time I'm in that game if I ever get to play it. Yeah.
Well, if you're in Strahd's castle, you're dead.
Yeah, you're probably at the end of the game anyway. So.
No, it's chapter 4.
Oh, well, I don't know how many chapters are in that.
8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, when I have to throw out book titles, I have sort of a running gag, and oddly enough, Critical Roles sort of runs a similar gag to it. But one of my players, his character used to write like shitty romance novels about one of the other character's mom. So so here they are 600 years later in the future, and every time they find books, they find one of those fucking dumbass romance novels.
I liked World of Warcraft that had all the
Oh, yeah.
steamy romance novels
Yeah, what
that you
was
could
it?
pocket if you're a rogue.
It's like the Lusty Maiden or something or other.
Yeah, they're all like torn and gnome.
Oh
Like
yeah,
fanfic.
yeah. They did the same thing
Ugh.
in the Sky or like the Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah, but the worst part about that is actually it was written and so you're reading through it.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
read some of in WoW, but not enough. But in Skyrim, it's like, oh, here's the entire 50-page novel. Good luck. I'm like, I don't want to read that.
yeah, yeah. I got better things to do with my time.
Yeah, imagine reading a book through Skyrim.
Yeah, when I
I wish
played,
they come out with the next one.
I know when I played Morrowind, there were some mods that I'd added on there where I could actually have a proper bookshelf and everything like that. And I had a collection of helmets and of books. So like every book I could find that I didn't already have, it went on my bookshelf. I did the same thing with Skyrim, but I ended up doubling up a whole lot of books.
Yeah, there was a lot of doubles in that game.
Yeah.
Speaking of books and stuff, like I know there are some kids out there which are now probably like full-fledged adults with degrees, but they decided the best thing for them to do, the best way for them to take notes was to load up Minecraft and record their notes into like the novels that you can or the books that you can write in
Okay. Yeah.
Minecraft
Yeah.
and record all the data in there.
That's kind of wild. I mean, yeah, there are way easier ways to do things than
Yeah. Notepad. It exists for a reason. Notepad plus plus if you're feeling spicy. I don't know.
yeah,
Just
yeah. WordPad. Like, there's so many ways to keep notes rather than having to load up a video game. Now, it's one thing if you could just sort of, copy paste.
yeah.
But I don't think that's a thing into Minecraft. I don't think you can copy from Word and then just paste it into a book in Minecraft.
I think you can. There's probably a mod for it.
There probably
Um
is. There's mods for
but
everything.
like but just think of the student sitting there in class writing down his notes into freaking he's studying like spatial geometry or whatever, orcish politics.
Yeah.
And he's writing notes into his book in Minecraft, and a creeper shows up and goes blah, and then his
Oh,
book just falls into lava and loses all of his notes.
yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
do then, pal? Load a
Yeah.
backup? I don't know.
Yeah. You should have thought about that before you tried to do this in a video game where things can blow up and destroy everything, all of your hard work, make you lose your diamonds that you had to dig up. I've definitely never died to creepers before, lost lots of diamonds. Or make you lose magic weapons like tridents.
All right, I think we're totally off rails now.
Yeah, well,
Bye,
no,
everybody.
no, hey, we're not done yet. No,
What? It's been an hour.
yeah, well, there's more stuff we can talk about, I'm sure, like Minecraft, of which we'll probably be playing here shortly on stream.
Maybe.
All right, we're out of here. Bye, Craig.
Bye, Greg.
Bye, Chris.